Welcome to the Le Mans 24 Hours and the Road to Le Mans support races for this great race. For the very first time, we're going to be taking the first of the two races for the weekend live. That's going to start right here and right now, and very shortly indeed, with a stellar lineup of LMP3 and GT3 cars. 50 cars, we hope, will be taking the starts. It is, of course, a double-header round of the Michelin Le Mans Cup, usually part of the support package for the European Le Mans Series, but uniquely in their calendar since 2015. They've been here at Le Mans for a blue ribbon event, something that has attracted the stars in terms of the teams, the cars, and of course the drivers for this excellent addition to the Le Mans calendar.
Well, it might be a little bit of a delay before we get the cars out on track. We're clearing up at the final chicane here at Le Mans after, right at the very end of free practice 3 for Le Mans cars, a Ferrari biffed the barriers. The Ferrari is now on the back of a flatbed. However, because it was a late start to the session, there's been a late finish, and cars are still coming back in after their final laps out on the track. So Graham Goodwin, Martin Haven in the booth, and joined by Bailey Voisin, who has started his endurance racing career and also getting thrown in from the high board into the deep end in terms of broadcasting. So, first time here at Le Mans?
Yes, first time here at Le Mans. What a place. Loving it. Hope to one day be able to drive here, but...
Yeah, I think this place either leaves you completely cold, you're really not fussed at all, or you just get the bug. And yeah, I mean, you're a racing driver, but that doesn't necessarily mean that you get Le Mans. Some racing drivers don't, hate it, never want to come back again, but it's got a very different atmosphere from anywhere else, doesn't it?
Absolutely, and it's great to be able to have the fans back. It certainly energizes and fuels the place. And yes, it's different to any other track on the calendar, the biggest race of the year, and it's just fantastic.
We're going to talk a little bit later in the broadcast. It's an aspirational aspect, guys, to this race, without a shadow of a doubt. And we've got another booth guest to come with a very different backstory to Bailey's. Now, Bailey, your backstory is one most recently through GT4 and success there with United Autosports. And with the end of that program, you've transitioned seamlessly into the prototype program, and you've been with us for the European Le Mans Series so far this year. Tell us a few of the kind of impressions you've got of just how that operation, those cars, that staircase of talent, if you like, is operating from the point of view of, I would imagine, an ambitious young driver.
Well, United Autosports have a fantastic ladder in place for young, aspiring drivers. Last year, they were running cars in GT4, where I was teammates with Charlie Fagg, who's actually competing in the 24 Hours of Le Mans this year. We had great success, and I transitioned into LMP3 this year. The cars are completely different. The GT4 being based off a road car and having driver aids such as ABS and traction control, whereas the prototype cars, the LMP3 in particular, is definitely a lot harder to drive and slightly more on a knife edge.
Good stuff. It's going to be interesting. Has there been an opportunity to take a look at whether or not you might make it to this race in a future year, or by then are you hoping to be even further up the ladder?
I'm just taking it race by race, to be honest. For me, it is my ultimate goal is to race at Le Mans. But at the minute, there isn't anything in place, but I really do hope at some point in the future I'll be here.
Now, this isn't, by the way, another of the support races.
Hey,
this is the
trolley army.
The trolley army making their way from down towards the karting circuit, where the Michelin Le Mans Cup, the Road to Le Mans paddock, is situated. We can already hear some of the cars kind of firing up as part of that train coming. They will set up outside the garages for the Le Mans 24 Hours contenders. That's already been a pattern that's been well established. Take a look here at this fantastic, historic 13.6 kilometre circuit. 3 sectors, the outstanding Mulsanne Straight, Audi, with, of course, the 2 chicanes introduced far more recently, and then through down on the run towards Indianapolis, the fastest section on this circuit for just about everything that runs here. Tight and technical on Arge. The run down to the Porsche curves I think, one of the most challenging sections of racetrack anywhere in the world. The speeds are high, the risks are, if anything, higher, and this is why the 50 crews, 100 drivers, will be taking to the track, and they'll be taken to the track very, very soon indeed. So we'll wait and find just exactly what we hear from race control about a start time for the Road to Le Mans.
Well, already our timing screens have changed over from the results of World Endurance Championship free practice, Le Mans free practice, to the grid and the lineup for the Road to Le Mans race. 13 laps of this circuit is the intended running time, and the track is pretty much clear. And 48 cars being shown out of the 50-strong entry.
We did, of course, have certainly one of the cars in strife a little earlier. We'll keep a lookout, see which two we're not going to get to the start for this race.
I'm not seeing this 74 Kessel racing car that was slowest in qualifying.
Okay. What we are seeing, by the way, is another bit of history already set, effectively a benchmark record time for a hydrogen fuel cell powered car, but the H24 car, number 24, will be part of this grid, and we will therefore see a hydrogen fuel cell car race at Le Mans for the very first time this year. Made its racing debut at Imola last month as part of the Michelin Le Mans Cup effort. It was made very clear to the team behind this fantastic technology demonstrator that the ACO wanted to see the car race in race trim before it came to Le Mans, quite correctly so. It's an extraordinary looking thing. It's an extraordinary sounding thing. Bailey, have you had a chance to have a look at this this monster?
I have, and I was there at Imola on the same weekend as it, and it was fantastic. A lot of the drivers saying that actually when you're following it, it's a bit bizarre because you get droplets of water, given that it's a hydrogen-powered car.
Oh, it's raining! Oh,
no, it's not.
hang on.
It's a fair point, isn't it? And still they come, the trolleys and the vans. So,
yeah, for older Formula 3000 botherers, what those quads are towing are known as Michel trolley. Not
really?
altogether or not at all. No, that's yeah. So, I mean, 48 cars. The other car that's not here, I think, actually, that's not being shown on the grid is Leipzig Motorsports Lamborghini Huracan. So that again barely recorded a time. They did 2 laps in qualifying. And barely recorded a time. But the H24 car, Stefan Richelme, will drive that on his own. It's not a 2-driver effort. Stefan Richelme is the man who's been charged with racing it and testing it up until now. And there's actually a really interesting display from Total Energy up in the village featuring the H24 car and how they fuel it and all of that. And it's got, if you think, okay, what on earth might a hydrogen car sound like? Well, it doesn't sound like a steam train or anything else. It sounds basically, if you know what a Formula E car sounds like, an electric powertrain, it kind of sounds like that. A little bit more geary, if that's not
it's a whistle, isn't it? It's
not really. Well, at high speed it probably is, yeah, but it just sounds a little bit slightly more mechanical than a Formula E car, but not so much. John Brownson will start on pole for DKR. Maurice Smith, what a great qualifying run from Cool Racing, outside front row ahead of Alexander Matschul and Nicholas Schatz. Qualifying was a little bit interrupted by a few incidents and accidents, not least for the 23 United Autosport car, but John Sharman starts in 5th ahead of his teammate Andres Latour. So an all-United row 3, row 4, Jacques Wolf, another team, Racing Spirit Le Mans. Jacques Wolf's had a few good races here, as have Nielsen, the number 8 Nielsen car. John Melsom starts, number 4 Nielsen car rather, starts in 8th place. Rob Hodes and his teammate Mathis Poulet for Team Virage. They are on row 5 of the grid.
With a very different looking car, by the way, for Virage, that 72 car. It's a very funky livery indeed.
It certainly is. A disruptive pattern. Then Tony Wells, again, he's finished strongly. He's on the outside of row 6. Dino Lunardi for IDEX Sport, another man who has raced here several times before.
Tony, by the way, the defending champion in Michelin Le Mans Cup.
Torsten Kratz, another name who could so easily be on the podium here. He's in the Duquesne. Most of the cars are Ligier's. Alexander Talkanitsa for AT is 14th, ahead of Horst Feldbergmeier Jr., with Freddie Hunt inside him for Reiter Engineering, both in Ligier's. Another of the Duquesnes, DKR's Alexander Bukantsov, ahead of Ryan Harper-Ellam. Some new names in the frame this season coming into what is a burgeoning LMP3 grid.
There's a new name there. There's a name we've never seen before at Le Mans.
We still can't see him. They haven't even got a photo of him. He's so new, Guy Smith. Won quite a well-known race here a while ago in a Bentley, didn't he?
Yeah, 2003 Le Mans winner. Of course, Guy Smith, part of the United Autosport setup. Mikey Benham, a winner in a past year here. Out here with Cool Racing, his new team. Into Europol here on this grid as well, with additional car and TS Corsa with Pietro Peccinini in the beautifully liveried Duquesne. RLRM Sports, Martin Rich, and we'll have
long way back.
Have part of that team story later on in this broadcast. Team Tour, Auden Gudmundsson, our Icelandic friends are back. Trenton Estep from the United States in the 31 AF Corsa car, and the MV2S for SDA Racing cars. Jerome Sadler, watch for that car to make up a lot of ground. Sean Lynn, father and son combo in the number 2 United Autosports car, and the CD Sports car. We talked about them in the Le Mans 24 Hours session earlier. They're there in 32nd place. Louis San Juan in the 40 Graph Racing car, the new addition last time out, Hegeli by T2 Racing. 24/7 Motorsports and its brothers Ferguson aboard the number 27 car. And then we get into the GTs. Bullet Racing on the pole position. Stephen Patrick in the Aston Martin. Team WRT have a representative here. And Maxime Robin, it will be in the Audi. It is the one of 3 of the GMB Motorsport Hondas. Christian Poulsen in the 55. EB Motors 46 with Emanuele Busnelli.
Christian Poulsen, also a class winner, LMP2 winner here in a Porsche in the 24 Hours of Le Mans. Mikkel Pedersen and Gino Forgoni, rather, for AF Corsa. And as that, the second of the Hondas. The EBI Motors Porsche, again, really didn't quite have the pace that I think the team expected in qualifying. And then towards the tail of the field, GMB Motorsport Rinaldi Racing with their LMP3 car a long way out of sync with the rest of the field, but that's them on pace.
But with Daniel Calvitz starting that car, on the effective back row, we've got the H24, number 24 with Stefan Rakelmi, and Lippert Motorsports after a troubled time earlier in the week with Gerhard Watzinger.
So Lippert are in the field, and Kessel Racing aren't.
So we've lost 2.
Still missing, we're missing Kessel. Did we have the Racetivity Mercedes?
Yes, we did. Charles,
is that on the grid?
Well, that's Charles-Henri Samani, and he is the brother-in-law of one Francois Perrodo. It's effectively a team that runs with the family, and it's a team that Francois runs with in the 24H series. So Charles-Henri Samani with a team that is another squad that, if you like, the Perrodo family and their enthusiasm is firmly involved with. Start of the formation lap will come on the bottom of the hour, so in just over 1 minute's time. And then we'll get to see this stellar collection of LMP3 cars and GT3 cars. Start of these kind of races, Bailey, you've been at some pretty big race meetings. How do you handle the kind of the pressure when we're getting through just this waiting to press the trigger?
It is always really difficult, and you know, the longer you wait, the more the pressure builds up. It's about trying to sort of forget about everything else and just concentrate on that one thing. The opening lap is going to be so important to stay out of trouble. It's a reasonably long race, 1 hour long. It's going to be just so important to keep damage at a minimum, making sure you don't lose too many places, keeping your cool, and just being able to stay out of trouble.
They're going to release the cars directly from the paddock. Sounds so simple when he says it like that, doesn't it? I was going to
say, so easily said, I'm at Le Mans! You know, when you're starting 28th or 24th or 19th or 52nd, you know, in the middle of a pack of other nutters who are slightly overexcited on the chewy sweets to get out on this track at Le Mans, it is so much more easily said than done. And that's why, actually, although it doesn't make the race, qualifying right at the sharp end, and especially on the front row, does just give you that slight safety margin that there are less fast-moving machines around you. And it does make, it's a long lap, it's a long race, but qualifying does help.
It does, and here they come. And for many, very many of the drivers in this field, this will be the culmination of a life's ambition. This has been a fine rung on the ladder. You were saying about United Autosports and their staircase of talents, the kind of the pyramid for ACO rules racing, and this has been a firm part of it. This is effectively the start of the formation lap. They will all file out, and then they will be sent off on the formation lap behind the safety car. They won't come to pit lane. They'll go straight around. We will see some of these drivers and some of these teams in the European Le Mans Series next year, in the WC maybe a couple of years after that, and obviously racing here in the big race itself. And that has got to be, you said earlier about there being a major target for you. It's easy to get distracted, isn't it, by the allure of being able to do it quickly, if you like, not building up the skill set, not building up the experience bank. We may see some examples today of people who've done it the right way, and maybe others that are looking to take baby steps, and now all of a sudden this is very real. It's a very different track with very different challenges.
Absolutely, and experience will pay dividends. Track time here at Le Mans is so limited, so to be able to have several years or several laps under your belt will certainly play to their strengths. And as you say, Road to Le Mans provides a fantastic stepping stone into future championships such as ELMS and World Endurance Championship.
It does, but it's also an end to itself. There's a lot of drivers here that don't have the time to do a world championship or flyaway races, that can't afford to be away from business and so on. So there are a lot of drivers, and you see a lot of names over the last 5 or 6 years in the Road to Le Mans races, and they are very happy, thank you very much, racing these LMP3 prototypes, doing the Road to Le Mans races around Europe, where it's a slightly long weekend rather than a week away from business. So the cars aren't dull, they're lively, they're entertaining, they're fast, they're powerful, they are demanding of the drivers, and there's 50 cars on the grid. It's not like you're turning up to a 12-car clubby at Snetterton. You go to Paul Ricard, you go to Monza, you come to Le Mans.
It's
name me another championship that you could do on a half reasonable budget, and they give you not one, but 2 races at Le Mans.
It was a genius addition to the Le Mans support package, without a shadow of a doubt. You look at this, I mean, it's like a scene from Zulu, only V8 powered. There's LMP3 cert, and there's thousands of them. It's every colour of the rainbow, and names we recognise, names we will come to recognise, names that are transiting through this because it is their live stream. And that's one of the reasons I've loved this race from the very start, or these 2 races from the very start. And it's great this year, and thank you to the race organisers and to the ACO for allowing us to bring the Thursday race to a live TV audience. It is the first time we've been able to do that. We'll of course have the race on race morning live for you as well. And these guys are getting to just, for the moment, enjoy this iconic track at a kind of sensible speed before we get to the not sensible speeds that are going to come in just a few moments' time. Coming down here through the first chicane, you can see is now named for Daytona. The Daytona chicane, we should be calling it, and as the Le Mans chicane is called at the bus stop, as was at Daytona. And behind the Porsche leading car, lights are off. That means we are going to be going racing pretty rapidly.
Lining up not for a while, because they won't start until they get to the start-finish line. So they're 10 kilometres away.
It's all fine. It's all fine. There's no need to panic. But cars qualified for both races this morning. 2 different sessions, one with the pros aboard, one with the AMS aboard. They get the choice as to who starts these races, and for the most part, with 1 or 2 exceptions, it is the amateur drivers that will start here. I'm just looking up and down the list here. EDEX Sport will have Dino Lunardi starting from 11th place. He's the quicker of the 2 drivers. Freddie Hunt in 15th place in the Writer Engineering car. He's a pro driver. United Autosports and that bloke Guy Smith we've never heard of. Yes, Guy Smith, the 2003 Le Mans overall winner for United Autosports from 19th place. Looking further back down the order, and way further back down the order, we've got to get to Daniel Calvitz, is starting in 46th place in the Rinaldi Racing number 66 car, and just seeing whether or not there's anybody else here. Trem de Sadelier is the quicker, I believe, of the two drivers. The MV2S car in 30th place. They are the guys to look for to see who might be set to make some early progress in this race, and it's always a bit of a risk here. It's something we see in the European Le Mans Series as well. I'm sure you're party to those strategic discussions which you will not reveal to us about how they make that choice. Choice is put the pro in, gap the field, or make progress if you've underperformed in qualifying. Problem is, it is that kind of grid here where things can happen with the cars in the closest proximity, so you risk burning that advantage if there's an incident and you're then circulating under a safety car or a full course yellow. Is that the kind of conversation that's been had in terms of who starts the car?
Absolutely. The engineers and all the drivers will be sitting down after most practice sessions and talking about what is the best strategy going forward. Now, at the start of a race, on the couple of opening laps, the chances of an incident happening are a lot greater. So that means chances of a safety car or chances of a slow zone here at Le Mans. So do you potentially want to put your amateur driver in first to be able to run down their drive time and maybe lose less time to your opponents? Or do you want to risk it and put your pro driver in first so that he can try and work his way up the field?
So remember, this is a two-driver race. There will be, middle of this race, a driver change, a full driver change for each of these cars. That is mandatory. And for most of them, we will see the quicker drivers coming later, deeper into this race. So it's going to have two phases, maybe three. There is the H24 car. You can see that massive air scoop atop the car. And that was the noise you'd hear from the H24 car as well, with its hydrogen fuel cell power plant. Has its own filling station, not fueling station, but filling station, I keep being told, that travels with the car. It's containerized, travels on the back of a truck. Genius piece of technology that means it can go racing in a Continental Championship like Michelin Le Mans Cup. Brings effectively its own food with it. It's it's not the saddest party in the world, really, but it's great to see it's here. Had an opportunity to set a mark a lap, if you like. It set a hydrogen electric lap record here at the Circuit de la Sarthe. Be interested to see how close to that record they can get in race conditions. We're not expecting that car to challenge on pace. They're aiming for GT3 pace, so they're not quite there yet. It's about managing weight, it's about managing heat. And underneath that bodywork, as they come through the end of the Porsche curves, there is a lot of radiator to manage the heat that is caused by the reaction that you'll see in the hydrogen fuel cell. So we'll just let the cars come in 2 by 2. We're not hearing race control, but you can be guaranteed these teams, these drivers will have been instructed by Eduardo Freitas, and you've been in one of those driver briefings, or more than one of those driver briefings. He's never anything other than clear, is he?
No, very clear, precise. He always wants a clean race, which is great. That's what we want here. But he wants close but fair racing, and that's what the viewers want. That's what we want.
And that's not a victory salute, by the way. That is the safety car driver's assistant instructed them to stay 2 by 2. The safety car will pull away, allow the pole position sitter to govern the pace, and here they come for the start of the first of 2 Road to Le Mans races at the Le Mans 24 Hours in 2022. They rumble out of the chicane. We wait for the lights, we wait for the lights. And we go, and we're away with 13 laps of this motoring mayhem to come. 2 wide coming down towards the Dunlop Bridge. Away goes John Brownson at the moment. Very wide indeed. For I think that was one of the MV2S cars, and there's multiple contacts there. Freddie Hunton amongst that one up the inside and taking a shortcut through the infield. John Brownson is away at the moment. They battle for position. Freddie Hunt's made up a number of places there. Whether or not he did that because he was pushed, or whether or not he did it out of choice, I think we'll find out with message on screen pretty soon. Still 2, 3, 4 wide everywhere. 53 RRM Sport car there. They come down through Tête Rouge and onto the Mulsanne straight for the first time. And challenge for the lead here, and it's already gone the way of the number 10 car.
Well, this is one of the reasons why this racing at Le Mans is so exciting. You've got 40 identical cars driven by very closely matched drivers. And, you know, 50 minutes to go and play on the best playground in the planet. You can see 3 wide down into the chicane behind and some running out wide.
Oh, that's bad news indeed. That's the 69 car. That's Mo Smith. That's Mo Smith, and that was a front row starting car. And the car that, there's another car, in fact, Ferrari in the wall, and another car stationary to the left. Just looking which car that is. I think that might be the F Corsa car. That's a heavily damaged Ferrari.
Oh.
So
that's going to mean, at the very least, a slow zone there. And again, you know, that's part of the unique nature of racing. Oh,
big lock-up as well
behind.
there. And there was a car going backwards to the, looked like it might have been the Frickadelli car. So I think we've had a sizable incident at the second chicane as well.
Lap 1, I'm going to use the words safety and car here. You're starting now to have, right, from the start line up to Tête Rouge, there was very likely to be a slow zone at the first chicane as well. And really, everybody super excited, but cold tyres.
Yeah, we should mention, by the way, another new leader. Nicolas Schatz is ahead in the NS Motorsport Ligier. But as you quite rightly say, we've got multiple incidents, and they are in the line of fire, which generally tends to mean we've got slow zone up already.
Guy Smith is one of those who has hors de combat in the number 2 United Autosport car. Who else? 24/7's Andrew Ferguson, Cool Racing's Maurice Smith we have confirmed. Haven't seen which of the Ferraris has sunk like a stone. Gino Forgione. It's a fairly narrow field.
It's Hugo Delacour, I think.
You're right, it is Hugo Delacour.
So no sign yet of there's instant AP3 with car 27 and car 52. That is the Ferguson car. The one I misidentified there was the F Corsa.
Yeah.
Ligier is the Ferguson car, the 24/7 Motorsport car, and the 52 Ferrari. Race control, slow zone is in place to protect that seam while they recover the cars. Not seen, by the way, what happened at the second chicane. We did see big lockup, and then what looked to me like a LMP3 car coming through in the back of the shot in reverse.
Now, Gino Forgione in the Ferrari, the Air Corsa Ferrari, is also sinking like a stone. He and Guy Smith are in the 21 United Autosport car, away down the tail of the field. Stefan Richelme's gone by them.
As we've got to move here, as we go into the yellow flag zone. Now, did that happen before the yellow flags? Because Freddie Hunt has gone through into third place ahead of John Brownson, but did he do it before the yellow flags?
Slow zone starts at Marshall's post 1, so that is at the start-finish line.
Yeah, there were yellow flags flying as he came through. Before the fourth chicane.
Okay, Marshall's post 35, next slow zone. All right, let me.
Now we get into the slow zone.
Map. Yeah. So he may have passed. Approaching the yellows is okay. In an actual next zone is not okay.
So across the line, leading the race, the number 6 car, the NS Motorsport Ligier of Nicolas Schatz, from Alexander Matchell in a second Ligier, the number 10 Racing Spirit Le Mans car. Freddie Hunt went through into third to make it a Ligier 1, 2, 3 in the 76 Reiter Engineering car. That's the first of these 13 laps. John Brownson, after leading from pole, comes round the first lap in fourth in the first of the Ducanes. That's the number 3 D-Car Engineering machine. Racing Spirit Le Mans 43, Jacques Wolf, Matthias Poulet in the Team Farage 72. That's the black and white livery car. That Ferrari is going to need significant assistance to move from there. Then John Schaumann in the first of the United cars, the 23 cars 7th. Dino Lonardi in the 17 EDEX Sport car is 8th. Nielsen Racing's Tony Wells 9th. DKR Engineering second car, the 14 car, is 10th. In the GT stakes, as they cross the line, it's the Team WRT Audi in the hands of Maxime Robin that leads. The first of the GMB Motorsport cars as they've come through now the slow zone, and well, Nicolas Schatz has got the hammer down and has got a big lead there.
So to Freddie Hunt, who's gone purple in sector 1, which unfortunately is the slow zone sector. So he may have passed going into the next slow zone, which will be under yellow flags, and has set a purple sector in the slow zone. In the pits, though...
That's the Talcanitsa car.
Yeah, that's Alexander Talcanitsa.
AT Racing.
So he, Nielsen Racing's John Melsom, Guy Smith, Maurice Smith, no relation.
Let's watch this again. That was one clash. That was the 11 WTM car involved. What happens here at the back, though,
Where's the
with
Ferrari coming from?
That's the 24/7 car goes around and is then clattered.
Oh, nowhere to go.
So it was a spin from the 24/7 car and then nowhere to go from the Ferrari. Another incident with Mo Smith down in the double up S's, and then trouble for the Nielsen car, number 4 car.
Lost a bit of wedge, and he is in the pit lane.
Indeed he is.
So that is
John Melsom.
John Melsom in the number 4 machine.
It's the car shared with Alex Mortimer. No, it's not. Not the car shared with Alex Mortimer. That's the car shared with Matt Bell. Normally, is Matt in this race?
Good question, because he's only just finished free practice for World Endurance, so he'll be in the pits hot and sweaty.
It is Matt Bell.
Well, the rest of the race continues. The slow zone only affects them up to Terre Rouge on the Mulsanne straight. So then as soon as they come onto the straight, suddenly they're back up at full speed. And Nicolas Schatz leading by 4.2 seconds. He made a really good getaway from Alexander Matchel. But car number 76, Freddie Hunt in the white car, up to 3rd and pulling away from this battle. Right, Jacques Wolf and Mathis Poulet for Team Virage.
Yeah, John Brownson is dropping back now into 8th. You've dealt with the slow zone discipline, Bailey. How difficult is that to kind of just keep that control, that focus, get back on it, get off it when you need to?
It's really difficult because it almost resets everything. And although the gaps between every single car will stay the same throughout the slow zone, it's really difficult to then be able to restart again and go for it and attack it 100%. So it's really interesting, and this is what's unique about Le Mans, is that there is a slow zone rather than having the entire track under full course yellow conditions, and that is what is really good. And
how much help do you need and do you get from the team in those situations?
So we typically get a countdown from 10 seconds, and then 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Boom.
And at 0, you must be at 80 kilometers an hour.
Yeah.
So that is how you're typically told. Now, for the slow zone, I'm not entirely sure, as I've never driven here at Le Mans. However, I would have thought you've got to try and pick your braking point out, and you've got to be at 80 kilometers an hour at that particular marshal post. So in this case, it's the first marshal post at the start-finish straight.
Yeah.
So you've got to be 80 kilometers an hour as you cross that marshal post.
Yeah. So it's like coming into the pit lane. It's like an absolute hard line, like the pit lane speed limit line.
This is the leader in GT3, and there was briefly under threat from the first of the Hondas. So it is Maxime Robin with Mikkel Pedersen trying to get involved there. But Sean Lynn is in the mix in slightly delayed number 2, United Autosports car, and looking to make progress up, back and through the GT3 leaders. So there's LMP3 traffic involved here in the GT3 battle, but it is Audi from Honda, from another Honda, Christian Poulsen. And Sean Lynn, I think, has had a moment there.
Yeah, it looks like he might have. He's dropped back a little bit. Nicolas Schatz, by the way, just set a new fastest race lap, 4 minutes 41.9, just the 4.8 seconds quicker than Alexander Matchel in 2nd place. Freddie Hunt is 3rd for Reiter Engineering, 4th Maxime Poulet now for Team Virage, ahead of Edex Sports' Dino Lunardi, and Jacques Wolf has dropped down from 4th to 6th for Racing Spirit of Le Mans. That was that battle that we saw, the 3 cars coming up to Arnage side by side, nose to tail.
So John Brownson, DKR, starting from pole, has dropped back and is dropping back a little further, 8th now, falling into the clutches at the moment of Tony Wells.
Graham, we saw the Nielsen number 4 car in the pit lane being worked on outside the Nielsen number 24 Le Mans team go. So for the first time in this race, in their history in this race, Nielsen have got a sister team that they're parked in front of.
Not true. They did come 2 years ago. They had a one-off entry 2 years ago. This, though, marks their full season entry with LMP2. But you're right, it is part of a a plan for Nielsen Racing. We've heard from Bailey about the staircase that is offered by United Autosports. Other teams have not been idle in spotting the opportunities that are there, both competitively and commercially for that. We see John Brownson now under pressure from behind from the... It's not the Nielsen...
That's the number 7 car. Again, you know, on this straight, you can see 2 cars towing along 2 other cars who have popped up down.
Oh, that was a hit!
Contact, they both spun out.
That was John Brownson with the WTM car. So the number 3 car went around, took the 11 car around with him. That's Torsten Kratz. 3 car is going to rejoin, but has lost several positions. Going to join, I think, just with the TS Corsa car.
Yeah.
Team Thor, in fact, behind Gordon Gudmundsson. Gudmundsson not had a good start to this race. Was well up in the order in qualifying, but 25th at the moment.
Yeah.
So pretty clearly got caught up in the Ferrari in the first couple of turns. Yeah, that's what it feels like. That's what it feels like. Watch it again. Up the inside goes Tony Wells. That car is where he wanted to be. Then rather overdid it and steered just into the side of the WTM car. I'm afraid that was down to John Brownson. That's not easy. Visibility of these cars, what's that like?
It's really difficult, and you could see that the number 11 car was tucked up behind the car in front, trying to get that tow. And it might have been that the number 3, there's a blind spot in these cars, and that number 11 might have just been in the blind spot of the number 3, and therefore we turned in and didn't quite see him. It's a real shame, but I don't know. The number 11 wasn't 50% alongside, so I can't say that they was entirely his corner.
When that happens, it's inevitably going to happen in our time together with me as a journalist and you as a driver. I'm going to remind you of that.
It did look like he had just overcooked it and was trying to find a way of getting out of that contact. He realised that he had overrun the gap he was trying to drop into. Meanwhile, GT3
nose to tail for the 2 leaders. The one good thing, by the way, about these travails for John Brownson is that it's going to give Lawrence Herr something to attack, because we're going to see Lawrence Herr later, and he's going to be fired up in a very fiery way.
Yeah, he doesn't mind coming from behind, does he? He doesn't mind leading from the front, but he's equally happy to come from behind. And these GT3 cars, you can see, you know, they've just passed the number 30 LMP3 car, the Fricadelli car of Klaus Aberlin. And the pace of these cars is really very similar at high speed.
It is. That 11 car, by the way, is dropping back. I wonder if he might be going with its rubbing bodywork or even a slow puncture as a result of that, but he's dropping back. Certainly should be quicker than this. And all of that pack, I'm afraid, have powered past him. 10 laps to go for the leaders. It's 11 seconds, that gap. That's been one heck of a getaway from Nicola Schatz. So all of a sudden, Honda is looking for a way by. They've been very quick this season, the little Hondas. And again, we talked about the ambition of the drivers and the teams. GMB Motorsport from Denmark are one of those teams with ambition. They know what's coming at Le Mans in a couple of years' time with GT3 rules racing to come into the slow zone again. And they want to be part of it with Honda.
Yeah.
That's why they're here, and why they're here with a 3-car effort. They want to show that they are deadly serious about their ambitions much higher up in the racing firmament. And they've got some names to conjure with. Kasper Elgaard, who's had a long history here at Le Mans. Coulda, shoulda been driving here, but things have changed around in the plans for the team. We talked about Christian Poulsen, you know, a winner here already in the main race, and looking to do that double, if you like, with the Road to Le Mans and Le Mans 24 Hours. Christian in LMP2 and GTE machinery back in the day, and part of the original sort of Dane train effort.
Absolutely, yeah. Outright winner, came back, as you said, in GTE with Aston Martins and the Dane train. He was also a World Touring Car driver, so he's had lots of variety. And again, you saw there really dramatically where that slow zone line started at the start-finish line. As you said, Bailey, bang, everybody's on the limiter right there, and you saw that not one gap changed at all through the entire zone until you get here to green, release the limiter, then the race is going again. So out of that, there's like 3 kilometers of slow zone, but the other 10 kilometers, have at it, boys, off you go. So it doesn't ruin races. Just for a moment you're frozen, nobody gains, nobody loses, and then boom, off you go again.
Yeah, and that's what's brilliant about the slow zone. It does just neutralise that that part of the track, and then as soon as you're out of it, you go racing again and you attack at 100%.
I always think, like, you see these two GT3 cars, the two lead cars, the guy behind is spending 25 seconds going, right, where am I going to get him? Where am I going to get him? Where are we going to go green? And the guy in front is doing exactly the same, trying desperately to figure out where's he going to be coming from, how much can I get away, where am I going to have to defend? So there's a real mental focus going on there as well.
Battle here between the 72 car from Team Virage and the 17 from EDEC Sports. 72 in the hands of Mathis Poulet, Dino Lenardi in the 17 car. This is a little bit hammer and tongs at the moment.
Yeah, it is. This is the battle now for 4th place, but they are, 3 seconds behind Freddie Hunt, who's 2 behind Alexander Matschel, who is now 12
That's
behind
the point.
the race leader.
The other thing is a big gap now behind this pair before we get back to Jacques Wolf in the 43 Racing Spirit Le Mans team.
Is Nicolas Schatz in an LMP2 car? Have we just checked?
No.
Okay, so 12.6 seconds.
No, he's just good.
Yeah, well, yeah.
But he's pulling away here with the opportunity to... We've got a drive-through penalty for car 34.
Okay.
Now, we didn't see what that was about, looking down the order.
That's Team WRT.
It is indeed Team WRT
Is that,
causing a collision.
I was going to say, is that
That's
contact?
the leader.
It is. Maxime Robin, well...
Now, that changes the lead immediately.
Yep.
And that's going to be a pretty big penalty here. It's a reasonably long pit lane for them.
Yes.
Not the pit lane itself, but pit in is pretty long here. It's quite a penalty. That is going to drop him down the order. Just look at what the gaps are looking like in GT3.
That'll cost him 45 seconds or so, and if you look from GT3 leads, Team
basically
WRT,
to the back of the
a minute
pack.
behind. Yeah, it'll put him last in GT3.
This is the battle to watch at the moment, though. This is for 4th. What that shows, by the way, is that race control are beginning to get through the job list, and I don't think that'll be the last thing we're going to see pop up there. I fear for Freddie Hunt that he may have some bad news as an immediate future.
Well, no, yes, we haven't heard anything specifically about the 76 car, but they always do look at everybody's reaction to slow zones and how you treat the yellow flags in the next slow. And again, here comes this battle into the slow zone, frozen in aspic for the next sort of minute or so.
Well,
until
no,
they get to a green flag.
frozen for the next 10 seconds. It's about to go full green again.
All right,
so
okay.
clear up is complete. Did Mo Smith make it away from his grassy knoll?
Good question. I will have a look.
I think he did.
He is running, but he's a lap down.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, the upside of that is we have seen drivers have disastrous race 1s and then go on to finish on a podium in race 2, which is a fresh start, so it's not all over. Into the pits comes WRT's race leader.
So Mikael Pedersen takes to the lead.
Yeah.
2 Pedersens, by the way, in the 88 car, but not related.
Another slow zone being introduced on the run down to Indianapolis.
Oh.
Yes, that's not going to be an insubstantial moment.
If that's an impact, that's no small impact there, are there?
Hopefully somebody has just run along the barriers and had a bit of a grassy moment. And
Gino Forgione is shown as being stopped on course, and
it is Noam Abramczyk.
In the Inter-Europol car.
He's just dropped half a dozen spots. Right. There goes the WRT car. Oh, now then, who is that going by?
That was the second EP Motors Porsche.
Ah, okay.
So Emanuele Busnelli is up into 3rd place. It's Honda 1-2. Oh, that's spirited, I think we'll call that.
I know where the bit is. It's right between the teeth.
And up the inside to, dear me, take the position. Yeah, that's an angry driver, isn't it? Oh, big one! That's a big shunt for the race 2 at AMG, the 83 car.
Now
off to the outside.
Yeah.
And then speared across and into the barriers. There's barrier damage there as well. So a big incident.
And it's this brow. The car goes light and floats. And if you get on those curbs there, and we see it so often with prototypes.
It was in the dirt. It was the right rear wheel in the dirt.
We've seen
left rear wheel polishes to the
Tony
dirt.
Wells in 2 different races here come down the grass on the outside and somehow survive it, but yeah, that spun up on the curbs. Did you walk around the track with the team and take a look at it? I mean, it's obviously, you know, it takes you almost all day, but you look at it on camera and you think a load of this track is really quite flat. That little brow looks so innocuous, but everything just gets whoa light and floaty if you carry too much speed. Here's the H24 machine. Stefan Richelme heading into the pit lane.
Indeed. For a fill, not a fuel, I'm told. A fill. It's not fuel.
Because...
I don't know.
Okay.
That's what they tell me. It's a filling station, not a fuel station. The fuel is created chemically.
Okay.
Right, okay, let's leave it with that. There is Stefan Richelme. By the way, Stefan, no small record himself in the Le Mans 24 Hours. That is one broken AMG.
Yeah.
And that is one broken AMG co-driver that knows that they're not going to go any further in this race. And I suspect that's Jean-Bernard Bouvet, wasn't it? That's another man with Le Mans experience, and Jean-Bernard with a racing academy trying to encourage young talent through into endurance. And Charles-Henri Samedi stepping out of the car. That's the best news here.
Yeah,
in comes Freddie Hunt.
Yeah, in comes everybody, because we are 22 minutes into the race in a 50-minute race. So we are at about the time where there is a slow zone. You are going to lose less time making a pit stop against rivals who might otherwise be going at full speed.
So top 6 cars came in. I was going to see Trenton Estep take the lead, staying out in the 31 AF Corsa car. But they're going to have to be tippy-toeing through here. That's good news. That was a big incident, and he's fine.
And there's quite a decent crowd out there as well, watching all afternoon. So a little round of applause. You could see him kind of acknowledging that. They're glad to see him out of the car. In the end, it's a tin can. All right, it might be an expensive tin can, but it's a tin can. But it's done its job. It's preserved the contents, which is all you really want to ask from a tin
This is going to be a very, very busy pit lane all of a sudden.
And I was sort of going to say, I wonder why AF Corsa, Graf and Rinaldi and GMB, the leaders in GT3, have not pitted this lap, and here is probably your answer. I guess they figure you will potentially lose more by being up behind somebody than having to be pushed back, as we saw there. Yeah, Marc Basseng ready to take over.
And by the way, this is Marc Basseng's first race at Le Mans in a career that has been well over a quarter of a century. Quite amazing. Marc was due to drive the car at the team's debut last time out at Imola.
Didn't make it that far, did it?
He did. They did race, but a race with Lars Kern. It's all sorts of internal ifs, buts and maybes. He will complete the season, Marc, but good to see him. He was there as the team manager and race engineer last time out. Steps into the driving seat this time. Busy pit lanes. They're not nice places to be, are they, Bailey?
No, a lot of things can happen during a busy pit lane, and everyone's going to be diving in. They're going to be taking full advantage of these slow zones. You lose very little time compared to a normal pit stop. So a lot of people will be diving in, and in these scenarios where cars have to park at 45 degrees, they're going to have to skate the car, and they're going to lose upwards of 10 seconds. So if you are unlucky and unfortunate enough to have a car in front of you and behind you when you pull into the box, it is going to cost you a lot.
Well, you saw GMB there parking 2 of their Hondas of 3 together, which is why they've left one out, because there's not enough bodies left. So, you know, the one that stays out, Mikkel Pedersen, the best placed, doing well. And again, the slow zone is quite a short slow zone, actually, because it doesn't start all the way back at the start-finish line like the last one did. It's just again, over 2 marshals posts.
That's the seeing on the 83 car, the race 2 Mercedes, and just got the wheel over the curb into the dirt, power on, and snapped straight across the circuit. Big impact with the barrier.
And
mercifully, driver looks perfectly fine.
They may have here in terms of spares. There's
that
no
looks
other Mercedes
very heavily damaged to me.
no other Mercedes teams to borrow from. So, yeah, and no, you know, no factory support trucks, I'm sure, from AMG Mercedes either.
But looking at that replay of that incident, we can see the car go over the crest, and you can't see that exit curb.
No.
So if you are just slightly out of position, ever so slightly, it is so easy to go off the other side of that exit curb and into the dirt, and that is exactly what happened.
Ask Jordan Taylor, the famous battle at the end of the Le Mans 24 Hours not that long ago with the Aston Martin of Johnny Adam. That was the point at which Jordan absolutely realised he didn't have all 4 tyres.
How close is this going to be? A little too close.
That's just a brush there, a little bit of carbon fibre. We're going to have a switch of guests in just a moment or two, as indeed one of the teams, the team coming indeed into shot right there, the R8 Sport team are going to have a switch of driver lineup later in the Michelin Le Mans Cup. So we're going to say thank you for the moment. Stick with us, Bailey. I'm not going to talk to you just at the end of this race, but thanks very much for your insight. Good luck with the remainder of the European Le Mans Series, and we will see you on race morning for race 2 here.
New race leader, by the way, Graf Racing's Ryan Harper-Ellum was chasing Trenton Estep from AF Corsia in the 31 car, is now leading him, so he's got in front. And that is because Trenton Estep has come down pit lane. So this is a long run from the 57 car, but they're seeing the same TV pictures that we are, and they know that Mercedes is not going in a hurry. So they're laying odds that it will still be a slow zone there in another 4¼ minutes when they come into the pits. In comes the third of the Hondas. This is the GMB Motorsport car that leads in GT3. Mikael Pedersen was over a minute ahead of the Leipert Motorsport car of Gerhard Watzinger, and the H24 machine, there you are, there's what a hydrogen-powered racer sounds like. As I said,
just
a big
noticed
Formula E car.
Noticed the RC camera.
Joni cam, yeah, we haven't seen that yet.
Yeah, but this car, it's not about winning or losing for this car. It's about being out there in competitive trim and just learning. But it is great to see the car out there. It is a weird-looking thing, without a shadow of a doubt. But this is the start of something very different for the future of Le Mans. The current world situation means that we're likely to see hydrogen fuel cell cars towards the top end of the grid rather later than we otherwise would have hoped for. But, well, let's hope we do see them, and let's see that technology coming. We're going to say hi to a second guest presenter here for this first of the 2 Road to Le Mans races. Simon Butler is with us. Now, that will not be a name that very many of you will recognise from the contemporary racing. We're going to see Simon aboard the RLRM Sport number 53 car. Is that
number
right?
53, that's right.
Later on in the Michelin Le Mans Cup series. But there's a particular reason for asking Simon to come, and it's to do with the story, but in particular the ambition and what this race means. It's about aspiration, Simon.
It is. So this season for me is a step back into kind of modern racing cars after many years just racing historics, which has been brilliant, really good fun, probably slightly less reliable than most of the stuff we're watching at the moment. But the ambition is to do this P3 this year, and then to use that as a springboard to try to do P2 for next season and line up on the 24
now,
grid.
There's an inevitable question to ask about the other aspect of your life, which I'm fully well aware of, and anybody that would have seen a variety of stories in particular the UK national media, BBC Breakfast have covered the story, many of our national newspapers have covered the story as the team get to work on fixing that Armco barrier. You've not got a regular day job for a racing driver, have you?
No. So I think I'm relatively unusual, it's fair to say. So my day job is I'm a Church of England vicar, and I look after 12 parishes in rural Hampshire. But actually, I've been a racer for longer than I've been a vicar. So I've been a vicar for 17 years, but I've been racing for, well, this is my 30th season.
Wow. We're just going to see again this shunt from the AMG. Not nice. Never nice to see that, Simon.
No, and it's a margin of error, isn't it? It's just in inches either way, and that's the difference between holding it on and pitching it into the barrier.
Now, as a historic racer, have you raced at the Le Mans Classic before?
I have, yeah. So I've done Le Mans Classic about, I think, 6 times.
Yeah.
My first experience of Le Mans was in a 51C type, which was amazing. And at 3 a.m., middle of the night, drizzling with rain.
Sorry, Martin Haven now hates you a lot.
I don't hate you a lot. For authenticity, did you drive it down from Coventry as running it in?
No, I absolutely did not, because the brakes would have made it about 35 miles, so I would have ended up somewhere in the side of a pub.
All right. Well,
So, Simon, we talked about the adventure, if you like, and there's an interesting part of this, which is in that day job, you are encouraged to take sabbatical.
Absolutely.
And this is part of that. This adventure is part of that. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so we're really lucky as clergy. We get every 7 years we're given 3 months sabbatical. So it's a time to step back from all the normal pressures of work and do something refreshing. And what you do at that time is down to you, and it varies enormously. Different clergy do different things. But my kind of place of refreshing, the place I go to escape, is in a racing car. So my bishop has very kindly given me permission to use the time in chunks of a week and go racing with it.
I think that was Malte Jakobsen just unlapping himself from the number 76 car, which is going to lead the race, I think.
That is the race leader, the Reiter engineering car. That
it will be over the line, I think.
Handed over to Mats Chicane.
But that, and is this what you're looking forward to? This kind of motorised madness. Tell us what appeals. Tell us what appeals about these LMP3 cars. They introduced 2015 as the first stepping stone, if you like, at that point on the ACO rules ladder. We've got another lower rung now with the Ligier European Series. It's been phenomenally successful in encouraging drivers and teams to move on up, and you've already name-checked LMP2, the Le Mans 24 Hours. It does make that opportunity just more accessible to get into that scene.
It's a great way in, isn't it? And I think there's something really appealing about a fixed formula where you've got a bit of kind of stability in rules and regs, and the cars aren't subject to endless ongoing development and updating. So you've got a pretty stable platform that you're working with. And from what I hear, they're relatively drivable cars. I mean, they're hard to make go really fast, but they're drivable. And I think you see that, don't you, in the grid, that you've got drivers, some of whom are young guys pushing for a professional career, some very experienced AMs, and guys who are just stepping into racing.
We can see just coming off the tracks is the Rinaldi racing car. We saw the Graf racing car that led the race at that point, but now going through to lead the race is the number 76 Reiter engineering car. Mats Chicane is now 0.5 of a second ahead of Tom Dillman, a man who has raced here at the Le Mans 24 Hours in an LMP1 car.
Yeah, Tom Dillman will not be easy to hold back, as you say, 0.3 of a second, and actually Racing Spirit of Le Mans with Josh Skelton in third now, ahead of Nielsen's Colin Noble.
And pushing on. Colin Noble, the championship winner last year with Tony Wells, and the Nielsen Racing crew will be keen to get those points on the board again.
They were on the podium in one of the races here last year, and I can't recall which. Here's our GT3 leader, so the 88 GMB Motorsport Honda.
With a mighty lead here now, just looking at what that equates to. I think that's 40 seconds he's got, you know.
It says 15.9. Oh no, not over. That's over Mark Bassang. 148 behind to 225 behind. Yes, that is a yawning chasm of time.
Yeah, it is, and that's going to be done where. And
so that late pit stop coming in 2 laps after the rush,
really
the stampede,
paid off.
Hasn't it though?
Hasn't it just? It's really paid off. So GMB Motorsport 1-2 at the moment. The Bullet racing car that's had that penalty a little earlier, Valentin Haase-Klotz, is in third place and closing in on the second Honda, but with the MV2S 28 car, Emilian Cade, getting involved there with a bit of traffic, faster traffic from the recovering LMP3 car. This is our race leader in GT3, the number 88 car. It's been an impressive start to the season from the Honda team. Talk again to Simon. You're sharing the car with Martin Rich, man I know well, and people who know the Le Mans 24 Hours will remember, I'm sure. It's quite unusual for... I misremembered something. Tell us why you're doing this kind of this switch. Is it a kind of financial necessity, or is it? I know you're friends.
We are. Yeah, no, I mean, I've known Martin for years, so we've raced historics together for, well, about the last 10 years, and we kind of co-own some stuff. And Martin's been on with me for a long time, saying, get into a P3, you've got to do this, it's really good racing.
Touch there, that is the AF Corsa car and the MV2S car. There's a green one of these and an orange one of these.
Yeah, Forestier Racing is the green and white.
Clattered over the curbs, didn't he? Let's go back to that point again.
Yeah, no, so Martin's been saying, you've got to get into a P3. It's just great. It's great racing, and it's a brilliant package. RLR are a great team to run with. So I wanted to do at least half a season in prep for next year. Martin quite fancied doing another half season, so it sort of worked pretty well for us to share it.
Excellent stuff. Change here. Number 10 car goes by the 76 car for the lead of the race. That came on the run into the second Mans Chicane. So to the lead now, Tom Dillman. The Racing Spirit Le Mans looking good here. First and third as it stands with 6 laps to go.
And the last lap for the third place car of Josh Skelton, a 4-minute 12.4, and the 76 car, a 4-minute 15.0. So that 2.5 second gap. And now this lead battle is going to start to settle up. Then just watch the third car in your shot coming into play as well. So that second Racing Spirit of Le Mans car, Josh Skelton, who's set to be the youngest driver to start the 24 Hours of Le Mans, that is going to be in play actually probably before the end of this lap, or certainly before we get out of the next slow zone.
So Dillman from Silhaug, Skelton, Noble, Boyd, they're your top 3. Then we've got the late stoppers from Graf Racing. Duncan Tappy then 7th, and the Rinaldi late stopping car with Steve Parrow now at the wheel. It's a problem though for the Rinaldi car because they've switched to the non-professional driver, Steve Parrow, from Daniel Calvitz. Almost inevitably will start to drop back down the order. So Tom Dillman now will be looking to try to make his escape. The car you're seeing in the front of shot, that is the recovering Malte Jakobsen in the number 69 Cool Racing car, who is almost a lap down. Has gone back now onto the lead lap as a result of passing these cars as they came through the end of the last lap.
In GT3, you mentioned the Bullet Racing Aston, Valentin Asclo going out in that car. Very experienced young single-seater driver over various different categories, but they came in very, very late and have dropped, they're the pole sitters, have dropped to 8th in class out of what is effectively 9 running cars. That's not been a great race for them.
I think he's taken the penalty just now. I think that's his drive-through penalty.
Okay.
He was 3rd, he's dropped all the way back down to 8th, and this is now going to be a chase back from Valentin Haseklopp. That's going to be good to see. Other names worth mentioning, by the way, in that GT battle include Andrea Montemini. Yes, that's Andrea Montemini.
Yes.
From many years back in Formula 1 and much besides. We've got side by side here the Team Virage car, one of the United Autosports car, in fact 2 of them, because the one behind is Garnet Patterson. Big lock up there. The 33 car has to take to the infield. Yeah, I think it's going to have to let that place go.
It's Andy Merrick being attacked by the Virage car of Ian Rodriguez. So, you know, you've got some really starry co-driver names in here. You know, Guy Smith, not bad around Le Mans, you know, he's had a bit of a go occasionally. Andy Merrick, former, you know, factory driver
Aston Martin and
Aston
Bentley
Martin and Bentley.
Yes.
You know, there are Andrea Montemini, you know, you're going to turn up one day and there's going to be like half a dozen ex-Grand Prix drivers that you're meddling with in identical machinery.
And that's part of the fun, isn't it? I think for an AM driver to be on a grid with guys who've got masses of experience, who are fast drivers, is brilliant. I mean, you know you're not going to match them, you know you're going to tail in their weight, but you're on the grid with them and you can benchmark yourself against them, and that's just brilliant.
It's kind of like the attraction of Goodwood for a lot of historic racers, is that you go with a car and a whole bunch of guys that own their own cars, and then some real hot shoes, and you go, oh, excellent, I'll see how quick I am compared to Rob Huff or Matt Neal or you know, Tom Christensen or...
Yeah, it's 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, almost in line of stern there in GT3. Second is the 44 GMB Motorsport car, with a bit of a gap from Arnaud Robin brothers again in this car too. The WRT Audi has made a good recovery here. Got Fabio Babini though all over the rear end of the Audi in the EB Motors 46 Porsche Porsche.
And
Caspi,
again, Fabio Bobina, former FIA GT champion in front-engine Ferraris, you know, I mean, not a man who is unaware of how racing happens.
Fabio was in a class-leading Porsche in my very first race in the United States in 2002. Absolutely cracking stuff. Bad news, though, for that number 69 car of Milton Jakobsen. They are going to get a 2 minutes and 1 second stop and hold penalty for not respecting the minimum pit stop time. So that means
Lord.
a bad day's just got a lot worse.
Yeah.
And that off on the first lap for Mo Smith, I'm afraid, has just led to an utter disaster for that team in this race. Off, though, is the 33 car. That's the car that was involved in the tussle we were watching a little earlier at the second chicane. Did he jump? Was he pushed?
Now then, that's Ian Rodriguez in the 33 car, and...
Oh, that's a biff with Garnet Patterson.
Yeah, 2 into 1, definitely not going up.
That's not the same incident. So he's gone off again, so has he broken something and then run off?
Yeah.
So this was side by side with Garnet Patterson in the Revere Coffee liveried United Autosports car.
Who rejoins in approved John Lacey style, doesn't he? With 10,000 miles of rubber being left as he donuts round.
This is a quick kid. He's quick. And then gets up to,
Yeah, he basically tried to turn into Dunlop and it wasn't having any of it. The moment he tried to get it straight for the braking zone, it just was off.
Look at that. Watch this, they say.
It's that thing, isn't it, of keeping it clean. And the problem is in this racing that one mistake almost invariably leads to another. And you get in this sort of downward spiral, don't you, where you're trying to make up, you're trying to get back on track, and it just goes down and down and down.
Absolutely.
And you've got to keep your nose clean, you've got to keep it calm, keep it focused.
And you never know the knock-on effect of contact, do you? Here's the second place battle then. 76, the car started by Freddie Hunt for Reiter Engineering. Mud Silhaug under pressure. We predicted it was going to happen. It is happening. That's Josh Skelton right behind. Just gone out of shot is the lead car, Racing Spirit of Le Mans. And now they're looking for a 1-2. And right behind, Nielsen's Colin Noble looking for another podium here. Yet another podium here for Colin Noble and Nielsen. They've had so many races here in Road to Le Mans since this started being a support for the 24 hours, and they've had a lot of heartbreak, but they've had a lot of success.
Yeah, 1-2 now for the Racing Spirit of Le Mans pair, as they've rather mugged the Reiter Engineering car. Great to see Hans Reiter and co in this series, and much more to come, I'm sure, from them. Colin Noble will want to get past here in a hurry, because he can see, I mean, past that car, they are pulling away fast. Well, closing too, Wayne Boyd, and closing fast as well. So he's quicker than a couple of the cars ahead of him here. He's going to be in this fight before too much longer.
We've got some great sports car racing team names in here, like Graf and Nielsen and so on, but also GT racing teams like Reiter, like Fricadelli. You know, we're seeing teams who regularly will be competing in things like the Nürburgring 24 hours, looking at prototype racing, and also with a view to the fact that the World Endurance Championship and Le Mans goes GT3 as of next year. You know, all the teams that do the Nürburgring 24 hours must be just rubbing their palms with glee. GT3, that's our remit.
Watch this. It's trouble for the GT leader.
Is that the leader?
They're out. They're out.
Yes, it is. Oh,
with a massive lead, and the 88 car is gone.
Now then. Being
lifted clear here, and it's already dropped to the back of the GT3 field. So with a dominant start, that's the Reiter Engineering crew.
Right, that penalty for car 69 has been cancelled.
Yep.
Did he go off on fluid? Is that what happened to the Virage car? Was it not that the driver had a slow puncture or something? Did he have a leak? Is that what caught the Ferrari out? I mean,
trouble here.
The Honda rather. Other than that, what was he doing? Go so fast in a slow zone that he went off on his own.
Yeah.
The H24 car had a fault-free run last time out. That is not the way it's going at the moment.
Well, the 88 bullet has been fired. We're back now to the second bullet in the GMB Motorsport gun, and that is the number 44 car, Jens Müller. Another man with huge heritage in motorsport, and side by side Fabio Bobini and Maxime Arnaud Robin.
Oh, Bobini is doing the old racing driver
coming. He knows what he was doing there, and away he goes.
Yeah.
Beautifully done by the Italian.
Outside, inside for what is second place, because the leader is right in front, Jens Müller, and he probably doesn't know by now, but that is the lead car in front. So this is first, second, third, fourth, and fifth right
indeed.
now
It
in
is.
GT3.
Honda, Porsche, Audi, another Honda, and then Andrea Montemini in the 61 Ferrari for the glory places and the points for that matter in this race. But what these drivers will want is what you get here uniquely, a podium on the podium.
Points, nobody really cares until they get to the next race where the points are. As you say, it's all about standing on that podium.
I shouldn't have said that because someone's just quietly drooling now with the prospect that I might have a
Dribbling. I'm visualising. I'm visualising. If you can visualise it will happen, right? That's all you need to do.
Absolutely. I mean, is there a racing driver who wouldn't want to stand on that podium? You know, there can't be many. Here, Indianapolis Winner's Circle, Monaco Grand Prix being presented in front of the royal family. You know, maybe places like Monza as well. And of course, being handed a cigar on the grid after finishing well at Goodwood, you know, that's another, especially for a historic racer like yourself.
Yeah.
But, you know, this, for anybody born into European motorsport, this is it. This is it.
There's a magic, isn't there, about this? And I think some of that magic is linked to the history. It's a depth of history that this race and this place has, which just gives it a life like nothing else.
Do you know what I would like to see for the Road to Le Mans races? We have one on Saturday morning. That's guaranteed to be daylight.
Yes.
What else do we know? Oh, my goodness me! Got it all wrong into the slow zone.
Good advertising, mind you. That's Andrea Montemini.
I think this is page 7 of Driver Handbook, isn't it? What to do if you get a massive Rolex banner stuck to the front of your car.
That's not there in the manual, is it? It's done that well.
There we go.
Oh, yeah, well done.
No, textbook.
Stand on the brake, get rid of it. I think then you reverse your racing suit so the dog collar shows and say, "Dear Lord,
please remove the large Rolex banner."
The thought does occur to me. There is a role for you beyond motorsport in taking confession in the race control.
You could do something with race penalties, couldn't you? If you're prepared to do confession afterwards, you get 30 seconds of it back or something.
Well, you go. Eduardo serves very much the same purpose. You go and confess your sins to him, and here's your penance.
Yeah.
Don't do it again. Now, what I was going to say was I would love to see. We've got a daytime race guaranteed on Saturday. The other thing we know about Le Mans is we race at night.
Absolutely.
Let's have an evening race. Let's figure out a way to have them racing in the evening.
Have you seen how, I'm going to put these in, you won't see this, parentheses, how good the headlamps are on these LMP3 cars?
I don't care. Let them run in the dusk.
The answer is not.
Let them run in the
Tell you what,
dusk.
they'll be better than the headlights on my C-Type Jaguar.
Oh, there you go.
Like candles in a jam jar at 3 AM in the driving rain.
Well, now let's talk about that then, because as we watch the leaders coming through, Racing
7
Spirit Le
minutes.
Mans 1,
7 minutes to
2,
go.
Nielsen third, and dropping back a little, the 76 United car. Let's talk about that, because from the moment you start the race in a historic car, you are balancing going as fast as you can do as a driver with what the car is likely to be able to stand. And obviously now it's probably even more than it was when it was being raced by the factory in period. But these things, this is like an electric drill. It's just going to go at maximum RPM until you switch it off. So it's a very different way of going racing, isn't it?
Colin Noble under pressurising the 43 car here for the second place in this podium. They're coming into this slow zone, but this is going to be trigger-happy TV at the end of it.
Yeah.
Oh, closed up right there. Look at that. Right at the death of the slow zone. I apologise, Simon.
No, I mean, every 10th counts, doesn't it? You want to be on the brakes as late as you can.
Well, this is for the win, isn't it? You know.
Yeah, that matters, doesn't it? I mean, it's true. I mean, with the historics, I always think we add lightness over the duration of a race because bits fall off.
Yeah. That's why they're called collector's cars.
Yeah, absolutely. You collect bits on the other side of the track. But no, it's a different thing, isn't it? And with historics, you're always conscious of what can it do, what can it take.
Yeah.
And you try to drive it within its limits. But these things, the limits of the car are way beyond the driver.
It's another change.
Yeah,
The 44
wholesale
car,
change.
44 cars drop back behind the EB Motors car and the Team WRT Audi. So the Audi, which led this race before a drive-through penalty, now back up into second place, but having been taken by Fabio Babini for the lead of the race. And we've just got just over 5 minutes to go. And from 2 different Hondas having led this race, now none of them do.
Yeah, but now there are 2 Hondas battling for third. So those are the two teammates. That's the two red cars. That's the JMB Motorsport Hondas, Jens Muller and Kasper Jensen behind him, and Kasper looking to pull out on the run down to Indianapolis. So yeah, Fabio Bobini for Ebi Motors in front by a metre or so from the Audi, and you know that Arnaud Robin is going to have a lunge on the last lap into the forward chicane. There's no question. And the leaders.
We just shifted away from a shot, just as it looked like the Audi was locking up there.
Yeah. Tom Dillman still leads out onto the Mulsanne from Josh Skelton and Colin Noble, and they are now clear. And there is a challenge on Mads Silhaug from Wayne Boyd. United's number 23 car was just starting to pull out from the slipstream.
Went to the outside. It's going to be interesting to see those three into the braking zone for the first chicane.
Fabini is pulling away in the Porker, isn't he?
He most certainly is. This team, by the way, were due this season to accompany the Lamborghini. Just a couple of weeks before the season, though, the team realised fuel cell out of date, couldn't get a replacement, and a week before the season started, had to buy that Porsche.
Can't go racing with a weak bladder. That's just, you just can't. So, well, that has not turned out to be a poor choice. I mean, the one thing when you go to Weissach and say, can I have a car, please? You know it's going to work.
Second-hand, but never raced, or at least so they were told.
One careful lady owner.
I imagine you've bought a couple of those. Never raced or rallied, one careful lady owner.
Boyd through to fourth. Wayne Boyd is through to fourth. You'll see not that car. There's Wayne Boyd.
Duncan Tappy is next up in the queue behind for, I was going to say United Autosports because that's been a sort of happy home for him, but for Cool Racing.
Some way back,
but, yeah, 8 seconds back.
This is the battle for the podium positions, with the possibility, depending on what happens in the next few corners, that we could see Wayne Boyd involved.
3 minutes on the clock. Will they start another lap? Yes.
It puts a different slant on things, doesn't it, when you're sharing the garage with a guy who's leading and you're in second.
Yeah.
When you know you've got to sit down and have a cup of coffee with him afterwards.
No, it doesn't do that. It changes things when you've just had him off and won the race,
and then
you've got to go back to the garage. Yeah.
And you get the cup of coffee thrown at you.
It's not just the coffee that's icy cold when you get back to the garage.
This is contemporary racing 101 as we school the historic racer.
So Tom Dillman leads from teammate Josh Skelton and Colin Noble. Into the slow zone comes basically everyone that's still going in GT3. Jens Muller leads from Robin Arnold, Arnaud Robin rather, and Fabio Bobini.
And the third GMB car, a lap down almost, is in front of this group.
Well, he's shown as leading them.
He's back again. So what's happened there?
44, Jens Muller.
How did he get in? How did he get ahead
He's gone by. The Audi and the Porsche have had an off. The better of the two, the better place the two Hondas has gone by, because the two red cars behind, the last one is a Ferrari.
Correct.
So that's the Ferrari, that's Montermini back in it. So, unseen by the cameras.
44 and 56 are under investigation for slow zone procedures, and that would be the
Jens Muller in the GMB Honda.
And the second EP Motors car,
which is now second, because the Audi has gone by the Honda, again unseen by us as we're watching the leaders.
Absolutely bonkers.
And this is why the fans are watching this in the afternoon, because it's mentalism. Look at this, Audi leads, Bobini up to second.
Bobini's got his dander up here, and I think we're going to see some fun and games. Last lap here for the race leaders. Trouble for the Europol car.
Going very slowly, Danyant, and he was a long way back, actually. He was behind the GT3 battle. So, it is the Audi that leads. Arnaud Robin from Fabio Bobini.
Side by side for fifth, behind, fourth.
Side by each. Andrea Montermini taking the inside line to go ahead of Kasper Jensen. In fact, that was Kasper Jensen trying to come back at Andrea Montermini. Didn't manage to do so. The Honda's still behind, and just behind them is that Bullet Racing's Valentin Asclot. No, it's not.
No, it's not the CP Motors car.
Yeah.
Remember, the GTs have got this lap and one more.
Yes, because the leader is on the last lap, and they are on the penultimate lap.
They're at Tête Rouge right now. The lead group, I'll say the lead group, they could just as easily be stacked as they are. One behind the other.
Lead trio.
Wayne Boyd is catching, but he's not going to catch them quickly enough, I think.
Oh, 2.2 behind it. It only takes one outbraking manoeuvre to go wrong, and he is on the podium.
They have no traffic ahead of that group at all. They are not going to be caught.
And there's none ahead of here either as well. These guys have got a nice clean run in, but they will start the last lap rather than finish the last lap as they get to the line. So
anybody want to put a 5 that Montemini's not on the podium here? It's looking like he might have a bit of a lunge.
well, let's hope the teams are really on it on the radio and there's no sitting up a lap early as happened in MotoGP
Indeed,
last
it did.
weekend. Yeah.
Indeed, it did.
Arnaud Robin leading from Fabio Bobini and Jens Muller, Andrea Montermini. That's sort of 2 cars in one position. In fact, make that 3 cars in one position, because Casper Jensen is close enough that if Montermini slightly fumbles the challenge, then Jensen will go through from 5th to 3rd. Here's the leaders. It is stretching out a little bit.
is.
Really impressed, though, with the pace of Josh Skelton, because Tom Dillman is an absolutely A-grade peddler. No question at all about that. Josh Skelton, with much less age and experience under his belt, is giving him every inch of the run for his money, and Colin Noble just can't quite hang on to their coattails. If it goes wrong, if there is a challenge from Josh, and they kind of tangle, then Colin Noble could find this falling into his lap. Wayne Boyd is close as they rush down to Indianapolis. There he is, 4th car in shot, the dark blue machine ahead of the righty car, Mud Sillerhaug. But it is really between these two. It's Tom Dillman or Josh Skelton.
It does look that way, doesn't it? It does look like Colin has got an answer to the pace of the 2 Racing Spirit Le Mans cars. This, by the way, the organisation that used to run Cool Racing before Nico Lapierre and his crew took over, but they've reinvented themselves in LMP3 racing and have been very, very impressive this season. Colin Noble just digs in there, and he'll be concentrating just as much as keeping the gap to Wayne Boyd, a foe he knows extremely well, as he is on trying to close the gap. But I don't think there's much fight left in that second place battle, is there? It's all about the win.
It is all about the win. And Colin Noble, definitely, he was so excited to win here at Le Mans last year in Road to Le Mans, and he will be equally thrilled, I'm sure, to be on the podium. But Josh Skelton is not going to get close enough. And this is the real difference between a really hard seasoned professional like Tom Dillman. He is absolutely not going to let anybody get close enough to challenge him on the run to the flag. Out of the chicane they come for the final time. They will have to slow down at the checkered flag. And across the line, victory to Tom Dillman. It is a double race success for Racing Spirit of Le Mans. Josh Skelton takes 2nd place, and Nielsen 3rd for Colin Noble, ahead of United's Wayne Boyd, Mats Sillerhaug for Reiter. And at the second chicane, it is still on. Babini challenging Robin, and 3 cars in it for the podium.
Yellow's there for an issue with the 22 United car, I believe. But Babini's got his dander up and has got a quick Porsche coming down towards Mulsanne corner.
Yeah, Fabio Babini in the tow. Arnaud Robin will know the danger. Now, don't forget, Babini forced Arnaud Robin to defend deep here and undercut him on the way out of the corner. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. He's got the run again. There is traffic in front, and it is the 3rd of the Hondas, but it is
Ferrari behind
away.
as well. The Ferrari behind alongside the Honda for 3rd. It's side by side for the lead. It's the inside line for the 46 Porsche.
And Andrea Montermini is going by because the other Honda is towing up behind him, and the 2 of them are going quicker than the Honda that was in 3rd. So Montermini's going through, Babini and Robin in the blue and white out. He's got the inside line, but can't use it.
Can he get it hold up? He can.
Wow.
And Babini in the dying corners of this race.
Again, against a known talent like Fabio Babini. Hats off to Arnaud Robin. However this finishes, he is losing nothing to a driver of such calibre and experience. And Andrea Montermini is not yet in 3rd.
It's the other Honda. It's the 55 now.
That towed past That's Casper Jensen, who's come from 5th, followed Babini, and then slipstreamed him down to Indianapolis to go up to 3rd place.
Extraordinary. Remember, we've got GT3 racing to come in the Le Mans 24
I
hours.
know. And we're not done. And you know, and we're going to see cars and manufacturers that we've almost never seen race at Le Mans because they have GT3 programs, and there's the slow car.
Involved. That's the 88 car that was leading the race.
He's tried to slow down out of the way.
This time, I think that might be it done, but still.
Ford chicane, last lap lunge, Silverstone style finish. Is it going to be a Honda on the podium in 3rd? There are 3 Hondas there. They're trying to stay out of the way. It is going to be Fabio Babini, isn't it? He's not going to drop it here. Too experienced and too good. Fabio Babini wins in GT3 for Ebby Motors. Arno Robert in 2nd. Casper Jensen ahead of Andrea Montermini and Jens Müller. And Massimiliano Busnelli in the Ebby Motors Porsche will be next man across the line.
I think they enjoyed that. That was
my
good shots in
goodness.
the WRT pits.
Well,
nice to see as well, by the way. Plenty of the Le Mans 24-hour crews watching and congratulating the winners and the podium sitters.
The Corvette guys are watching.
They were.
Because next year, they'll be racing cars like these.
They will indeed.
Because the GT3
Not
Corvette program, 2 years, the GT3
years.
Corvette program will be on song by then. And yeah, so this is their future they're looking at.
So, having seen that motorised chaos, you were looking forward to a kind of quiet sabbatical summer?
Yeah, I mean, it's a hiding to nowhere, isn't it? But yeah, in a
Excellent
weird
stuff.
way, it just looks brilliant.
Absolutely fantastic. That was great stuff in the GT class at the end. You could see what that meant to Fabio Babini.
Never taken a win at Le Mans, I would think.
I don't think so.
No?
Don't think so.
No, he's always been a GT racer. He did lots of FIA GT. He's done SRO GT racing. I don't think...
He was a Pirelli factory driver for a while, and of course that wasn't necessarily the thing to have at Le Mans for many years. But
Maserati MC12s and things, you know, it was always non-ACO rules racing. And again, out front, you know, we've got 2 seasoned professionals winning the 2 classes, but the drivers that were racing against them right to the flag, Josh Skelton lost by 9/10 of a second in the end to Tom Dillman. But it could have gone either way, you sensed, at almost any stage. If Dillman had let his guard down even for a heartbeat, I think Josh Skelton would have been. But that's a great way to start Josh Skelton's weekend here, isn't it?
Indeed, it is. And Josh has been coming on strong in LMP3 racing. To see him getting as close as he did to driver Tom Dillman's quality that's no mean feat. That will give him a push forward. Look at that.
And again, Fabio Babini, all of that experience, all of that ability, we know all about him. And then you put him up against Arno Robert, and you say to Arno Robert, okay, absolute no disgrace. You lost. Oh, you were narrowly beaten in a fantastic battle that could have gone either way by a real pro.
Emanuele Busnelli delighted with that, and I think tears in the eyes of Fabio Babini. This means a huge amount to him. Visor down generally tends to mean he doesn't want to see his eyes.
He's not in a hurry to get out the car yet, is he?
And that's the joy of it, isn't it? That, you know, you can race for so many years, but still the win means that much. There's still so much passion. So
it's a win
joy.
at Le Mans. It's a win at Le Mans.
It's brilliant.
Okay, and it may be that is the final opportunity of Fabio Babini as a 3 decades long professional will get. There is the results. It's the 10 Racing Spirit of Le Mans Ligier that takes it just under a second clear of the sister car, the 43, and the Nielsen Racing number 7. It's Ligier 1, 2, 3. A win then for Alexander Matchell and Tom Dillman, going all the way down through the top 20 and beyond with this deep field of LMP3 cars.
Starting 50 cars, you know, where else can you do that? There's not many places.
We get into the GT cars and the 46 EB Motors Porsche. Emanuele Busnelli and Fabio Babini take the win in the EB Motors Porsche from the 34 Team WRT Audi and the GMB Motorsport number 55 Honda NSX. Great race to start the weekend for the Spirit of Le Mans and the Michelin Le Mans Cup. And guess what? There's better news still. We get to do it again on Saturday.
And as always, mental as anything. Some fantastic racing. And again, you said that might be Fabio Babini's last chance to win here at Le Mans. Oh, yeah, right, because GT3... excuse me, his home turf is coming next year. That has just taken a decade off his career. That has just elevated him right back into other people's notebooks going, oh, right, okay. I remember him now from GT1 World Challenge. I think we might look at him again. I think that is going to completely reinvigorate him. If he'd had any thoughts that people might have forgotten him, they'll be remembering him again now.
Fabulous stuff then from the Road to Le Mans. We'll be back with you for race 2 on race morning on Saturday.